Mike McCool here in the Royal Examiner studio, and with me today is Nicholas Betts. Nick, we'll call you Nick, is that all right?
That's fine.
Is a candidate for Congress in the 6th District. You're running against Congressman Ben Cline.
Yes, sir.
And so we're going to find out a little bit about Nick today. He's going to talk to us about issues that's important to him and just find out something about the person, Nick Betts. So, Nick, let's start off and tell us who you are and where you're from and what you're all about.
Sure. Well, thank you very much for having me here today. I really appreciate it. My name's Nicholas Betts. I go by Nick. I live in Lexington, Virginia, here in the 6th District with my wife, Lindsay, and my dog, Hendrix. I was originally from Maryland, but I moved here to Virginia when I was 18 to attend Virginia Commonwealth University. I got my bachelor's degree there in history. Got my master's degree there in history. Worked for a while substitute teaching as a consultant for a small family business. Then I worked as a contract manager for that business for a while. Then moved on out to Lexington to go to law school at Washington Lee School of Law, and got my JD from there in 2019. And I work for a law firm in Roanoke right now.
Wow, you've come to the. You said you came here to go to school and never left. A lot of people do that.
That's right.
It's a great place, isn't it?
The 6th District is beautiful, very friendly people, and I like it out here.
It is great. A lot of people say that they come to the valley and they just don't leave. We get a lot of transplants from up north.
Yeah.
So it's great. It's great. So I guess lawyers. I always tell people, lawyers have doctorate degrees. We just don't think of lawyers. We don't call them doctors. You know what I mean? But
yeah, Juris Doctor degree.
That's right.
Yep, that's right.
That's right. So it'd be strange if we called lawyers doctors. Maybe they'd get a little more respect. So what are some of the issues that you feel is important in our district?
Sure. Some of the issues include healthcare, education, whether that's early childhood education, K through 12 education, or higher education, including career and technical services training programs. Creating good, well-paying jobs. I would propose in wind and solar technology. I think those are jobs of the future where we can really grow that industry if we give businesses economic incentives and making sure that we have broadband internet here in the 6th District.
Oh, we don't realize how much this internet, our whole world and business world, and even our personal. My wife's on that Kindle, but it's got to be connected to the internet.
That's absolutely right,
and that's everywhere.
Yeah, and I mean, people need the internet, whether it's for school, whether it's for buying things, commerce, working from home, telemedicine.
Yeah, that's really
many different areas of life.
This working from home has really put a burden on our internet backbone, and now we're really seeing the weak links, and especially in the rural areas, which is primarily a lot of the 6th District.
And that's true. And I mean, I think to make sure we attract businesses to these areas and have folks that are able to work from home and grow in our communities, I think it's imperative that we have the internet infrastructure. Really, I think it's the highways of the 21st century.
It is.
And the federal government, mobilized in the 1950s to get the highway system done. I think we can do it again with broadband infrastructure.
I think that is one case where if you build it, they will come.
I agree.
I don't always think that's true, but internet is one place. I know when you're looking around now, the first thing they check is, what's our internet connection?
Yeah.
You move on one side of the street, you've got it, and the other side of the street, you don't. And sometimes, 5 years ago, we didn't think much about that, but boy, today that's like one of the number one things is that internet.
I agree. So much of life is conducted on the internet these days.
So one of the things, and you are running for a national office. So
Yes, sir.
Even though this is a local program in Warren County, but of course we believe all politics are local.
I agree.
And one of the things that I hear a lot about, and that is the two parties really not working together, and they're butting heads. Seems like all the time. One group sits there with their arms crossed, and the other group just stares, and it's like there's not much cooperation. We do know that behind the scenes, there's really a lot more bipartisan cooperation than that's not played out in the media. But what's your feelings on that? Why don't we have this cooperate? We used to have it.
I think we just need to start by looking at what we can agree on and going from there. There might be things that we disagree on, but if we focus on what we agree on, like let's say broadband infrastructure, I think that's something both parties want to
I
get
would
done.
think so.
And so start looking at what we can agree on, get that done for the American people and the constituents of the 6th District, and and start and just listen to each other. We might find out we have more in common than we think, and I think it's important to just have conversations with people you don't necessarily agree with, or may think differently than, because you may come to a compromise that benefits everyone.
Well, until you get to know someone, you really don't know where they're at.
It's true.
And people got to, we've got to the position we hold through various means of ins and outs of all different things that affect our life. And I think once you get to know someone, that you can have a conversation and, like you said, maybe agree a lot more than what we than we didn't realize that we have a lot in common. I think we all really want the American dream, although some people are feeling like that's being challenged today. We have a lot of extremes in our politics. We have the extreme right and we have the extreme left. And, in the old days, we would all merge to the middle when it come election time. But the middle seems to have disappeared here lately.
And I think most...
You seem like to me you're a middle of the road guy.
I am a middle of the road guy, and and I think a lot of folks are middle of the road, and people want to see things get done. I say we're all Americans and we're all human beings, and people want a lot of the same stuff. Good education for their kids, a good well-paying job, roof over their head, food on the table, and I think it's the government's, job to make sure the trains run on time, that things are running smoothly.
Sure.
And sometimes, like honestly right now, I mean, we're in a time of crisis during the pandemic. More like twice as many Americans have died in, the coronavirus pandemic as World War One. Only, the Civil War and World War II, have had more Americans die, and those were 4-year wars. So it's really affected our economy, and I think we need to work together to get things back on track and help the American people have the resources they need, both the health resources, the personal protective equipment, as well as the economic resources, making sure people can keep food on their table and a roof over their head, and that we rebuild and invest in things that help people have the tools they need to live the American dream.
Well, when you have a pandemic like we've had here lately, it's difficult, for everybody to stay home. Someone's got to go to work.
It's true.
And that's something that sometimes people say, well, I'm staying home till it's safe. And yet they still want their groceries and they want their gas and they want their electric turned on. Those are the real heroes, I think, that are out there working in the Walmarts and the gas stations and the farms and keeping the economy moving as it is. And we're seeing that every day get a little better.
And but it does go in waves. I mean, I will say that, I think those folks that are out there, putting their life on the line day after day, I think they deserve a raise. There hasn't been a raise in the minimum wage since 2009. The cost of living has really skyrocketed, and I think, we should make sure that folks that are out there, working in person every day, get a raise.
Is there any particular items that you're really that your platform is really strong on, that you really like? You mentioned minimum wage. Are you
Sure.
Are you a minimum wage hike kind of guy, or are you?
I think we need to raise it some. I mean, it hasn't kept up with the cost of living. It's about $7.25, something like that.
Right.
And
People are promoting this $15 an hour raise, but even when they do, it's not overnight.
Sure, no, and I mean, maybe we need to put it at 10 or 12 and maybe get there over time, and I think that's something that needs to be talked about, because there's areas where 15 may go a long way, and there's where 15 doesn't go very far, and
a lot of these big cities, you can't live on $15 an hour. You can't do anything on $15 an hour. And other parts of the country, $5 works pretty good. Not. Well, I don't really mean that truthfully, but you know what I'm saying. There's a big difference.
I'm thinking around 10 to 12 is where we need to get it right
so.
Now.
And even though $10 an hour is only $20,000 a year, and that's way down there on the poverty level. It's a shame. We think it sounds like a lot of money, but it doesn't go very far.
My hope would be that if we had the minimum wage raised, that it would allow for people to have more expendable income than they have now, to put back in the economy, save for things like houses, or to go out to their local restaurants, and because if folks have expendable income, then that generates economic growth.
Sure.
And I think it would also put pressure on folks that make more than that, more than 10, 12, $15 an hour. It would put upward pressure on those wages, and I think we'd really see some companies having pay raises to attract new workers.
I think that's one of the negative things on raising the minimum wage. It doesn't just raise the minimum wage; it pushes everybody up the pay scale. Because I have employees say they've been making $10 an hour now. They've been here for 2 years, and they come in and a new person starts at 10. Wait a minute, I've been here 2 years. Why am I still making only $10? So I got to pay them more. Then they got to pay more, and they got to pay more. So you can see why some small businesses are probably struggling against raising it too much.
I think in the long term, small businesses would benefit from it, though, because you'd have more customers, you'd have more people that could,
Sure.
buy your products and stuff like that. Because if folks can't buy your products, then everybody's struggling.
Sounds like you're talking about trickle down economics there.
Oh, I'm talking about upward growth mobility is what I'm talking
I
about.
tried to slip that in there.
I'm talking about upward growth mobility.
All right, I couldn't put a little Ronald Reagan in there. But it is true. I think, like you said, I think there's a lot to sit down across the table and just talk it out. And I was going to say, kind of keep lawyers out of the boardroom, so to speak. But I think we need to evolve. Lawyers should know how to negotiate and use the words that we need to communicate with.
Yeah.
You should be a communicating expert.
I agree with you. And, it seems that we have some difference of opinions. I think we're having a great conversation right now. Just talking about, different things and, how to help the American people and how to help people here in Front Royal and, across the 6th District.
Well, the 6th District is a big, long district. And as you well know, I think you came up from Lynchburg today. So
Lexington.
Lexington,
Yeah,
excuse
yes,
me.
sir.
Well, it's still a long way.
It is,
It's
about
still
2
a long-
hours, yeah.
And it basically goes from Roanoke to Front Royal and about the valley. I mean, that's pretty much what it is. It's a great district. Everyone I've talked to over the years have been in that district. I've talked to Congressman Goodlatte and to Ben Klein. They both love the district, and they say it's a big district.
It is.
But it's diversified.
Yeah.
And there's not just farmers and chicken farmers and cow farmers or whatever around. There's a lot of industry.
It's true.
It's very broad and diverse. So it's a unique district.
Yeah, it is, and I want to make sure that folks have access to well-paying jobs, and one thing I'm proposing is that we give businesses the economic flexibility to hire workers and invest in infrastructure and wind and solar technology. I really see that as technology of the future, and if we let other countries get ahead of us, that's going to hurt. That's going to hurt us on the world stage and with economic growth over time. So I think if we can free up businesses to develop wind and solar technology and hire folks in those industries. There's companies like that here in the 6th District. So
Exactly.
I think that will really promote economic growth.
Well, you can't go wrong talking about healthcare, jobs, education, and broadband. I mean, those are like the four key things to talk about. And I think that if those four things affect everybody, regardless of what side of the aisle you may happen to sit on, and that'd be good to get the focus back on things that matter and not spin our wheels on things that, tomorrow we wake up, it doesn't really matter one way or the other. Will we still remember it 4 years from now or 5 years from now or 10 years from now? Things like healthcare, education, broadband, and jobs, we will remember those things. So
Absolutely.
I think we should all stay focused on those things. And if you happen to get in the 6th District as our congressman, we want to make sure you don't forget about Front Royal.
Absolutely not. This is probably my 3rd or 4th time here.
Yeah.
Since in the campaign, since I've been running over the last 8 months, and great people here in Front Royal, and I always enjoy coming here.
I went downtown to the Democratic headquarters last week and was talking to them, and they've got a good group of people down there working hard.
Absolutely.
And they're working for all their candidates, so that's a good sign.
I think so.
We've gone through several years in the past where not much activity in Warren County for the Democrats, and they've on the last couple of elections they've picked it up, stepped up, and they've fielded some really good candidates.
I know they're working hard out here.
It's hard to find good candidates on any side, and we need to work towards that, I think. Get more people involved in politics.
I agree, and that's one of the reasons why I ran is because I want to make sure folks have choice on the ballot, and I think that's imperative to democracy. We got to have more than one choice, so folks have the opportunity to decide, who they want to elect.
It is strange. You hate to always see one person on there,
Yeah.
regardless of what side. It's
true.
Is that all? That you don't have a candidate? Come on.
You got to have a candidate.
Got to have
Yeah.
a candidate. I'm
That's
glad
right.
you stepped up because more people need to become involved in what their government does. So many, when you look at, say, we have in county, we got 9,500 voters in town, and only 2 or 3,000 show up to vote. Sometimes, and then some of the town elections in the past, sometimes even less than that. So that's not good either.
We need participation. Democracy only works if people participate. So we got to keep effort to get folks out to vote. Make a choice. Participate in government. Run for elected office. I think that's all imperative.
Start off small. Run for mayor.
Well, I think we need everybody working together. Whether it's
think so, too. I
local
like it more.
office, state office, federal office. We're all there for public service to serve the people.
More the merrier. I think more people get involved. They get involved in their government, and they really then understand how it really works. And instead of sitting back and complaining, they get involved in finding solutions to their situations. It's great.
Absolutely, and we got to work together to get to those solutions.
Anything else you want to bring up here before you?
Yeah, just a little bit about some of the other. We talked a little about broadband and
Right.
green energy jobs, and I want to talk a little bit about healthcare and education
Healthcare's
a little bit
important,
more.
yeah.
In terms of healthcare, I think we should have a low-cost, affordable public healthcare option that's opt-out, that allows people to keep their private health insurance if they want to keep it, but also gets our friends and family and neighbors health insurance if they don't have it. I think we've seen during the pandemic, it's a public necessity that people have access to healthcare because we're all safer. If folks can go to the doctor and get treated for symptoms of a pandemic, or even honestly just preventive measures to keep folks from getting sick later in life, and folks had access to medical treatment earlier on, I think it would save everybody money.
We need to think about our end of life health care. As we get older, one of these days you'll be there, and that's one thing that we are lacking. Is some sort of long-term care of our elderly and our seniors, and I think they're the most influential on healthcare legislation. It seems like because they're concerned about it because they use it, and that's something that maybe I think our candidates and our congressmen and senators need to start thinking about because they're approaching that, but most of them can afford it. We
gotta make sure
But we got to
everybody has
find out
access
for
to
the other
healthcare.
90% that can't afford it.
Right, I agree with you.
And now there is a little help, but it's almost like unless you're in total poverty, there's no help.
It's true.
And I think that's what people want. They want a helping hand. They don't want you to do it for them.
Right.
They just want a hand up. Help me make it. Don't you
And that's
think?
why I'm saying, like, if we gave people, a public option, I think that would be great because I think it would bring down the cost of private health insurance to compete. And I think, but it still allows for people to keep their private health insurance.
We're
so.
seeing this year in the Medicare field. We're seeing the Medicare Advantage plans take over. A couple years ago, no one wanted it, and all of a sudden now they're saying, "Hey, no premium, and no secondary premium. Just pay your Medicare, and we're going to cover this and give you dental and give you vision." And so all of a sudden, this managed care is becoming very competitive, and we're seeing that in the 6th district this year. So, if you're old, check in with your Medicare advisor because a lot of changes are coming in 2021, and that's good. I mean, and that's primarily due to competition.
I think competition is key. And then as far as education goes, one thing I want to do, and I'm thinking maybe it can even be a bipartisan measure, is take the interest rates on student loans down to 0% permanently. President Trump did that, temporarily through executive order, and I think it's, freed up capital for 44 million, student loan borrowers. Some people saving for houses. It allows people to make big purchases like cars, and so I think having that economic flexibility would be, a real help to the middle class and generate economic growth. If we made that permanent, because I don't think the federal government should be profiting off of people seeking to educate themselves.
No, and that education is going to change. We've seen this change of going with the virtual and the hybrid type education system and online. My daughter finished her bachelor's totally online. They were working in Malaysia as teachers, and she finished her master's all online. And my son-in-law finished his second master's all online, working on his doctorate all online. So we're going to see education change.
Yeah, and I mean that's another reason why broadband's so important.
And I think
we
that'll
gotta-
drive the costs down.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
we
hope
have
so.
all these big brick and mortar colleges and universities. They need to reinvent themselves.
You know, and I do think that there is some benefit to that. You know, having people from different backgrounds
Sure.
meet each other, engage in dialogue. Things of that nature. And I do think that one of the issues is there is less state and federal funding than there used to be for higher education. So I do think we should make sure we increase that, but it goes to the right places. I know a lot of schools have built a third or fourth gym,
Exactly.
or have all the bells and whistles on the dorms. So I think if it goes to hire more professors to increase the 4 and 6 year graduation rate, or directly to tuition reduction, I think that's the type of thing we need to be funding. But I think we should make sure that it's not just used to make things fancier,
Right.
that aren't.
Kind of like healthcare, they're building and building and building, and the cost goes up.
And I think, it's just trying to make sure that we invest in the right things that help people out, and really generate economic growth. Because I think that's what it's about at the end of the day. If we invest in the right programs that generate economic growth, we'll maintain our world leader status throughout the 21st century and beyond. But we're at a crossroads where we're competing with other nations like China economically, with Europe, and if we need to make sure that we put ourselves in the right economic footing to maintain our world leader status.
People don't really realize how large of a global economy we really have, and I think it takes people with vision to be out there thinking about locally how we really compete in a global world, global world economy. So it is strange, but it's true. Is the way the economic development goes, will go the healthcare, will go the jobs, will go everything else. And if we stay focused on something and look out, to the future, if we have some vision, I think we can do that.
And I mean, we're the world reserve currency. We have the most powerful military in the world. We're a strong country and we want to keep it that way. So we need to make sure we invest in the right things to, keep our nation
I
strong.
like to say location, 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 and you can't beat it.
That's right.
We're in the 6th district.
Yep. Can't beat that.
All right, what else you got?
I think those are some of my top issues. Is there
Sure.
anything you'd like to talk?
No,
talk
I
more
think
about?
I think you've covered it pretty good, Nick, and I really appreciate it. Now we have to remember, I think today is the 13th. Is that correct? Am I right? The 13th today, and today is the last day to register to vote.
That's right.
So I hope to get this up so I can remind people to be sure you register by the end of the day.
Absolutely.
But voting is so important, and regardless of who you vote for, I think it's important that we all get out and vote. And we can vote early. We can vote early till the end of October, and then the polls on November 3rd. So I think I think we're going to see a lot more turnout this year.
I think so.
We pushed this early voting and absentee voting, and there's been a lot in the news. I think people are going to be out, and we'll see that in the local elections and see how. That's where you really measure it. People always come out for a presidential election, but you're lucky you're in a presidential cycle. Next 2 years, all of a sudden you really see the numbers drop.
And every election is important. You know what I mean? Every year it's important. You make sure all your elected leaders do the research and make sure it's folks that are going to fight for you.
Well, we appreciate that. Again, I appreciate you running. It's I think something you'll always remember.
Yeah.
And hope you just keep doing it over and over again, and keep encouraging other people and young people
Absolutely.
to get involved in it. We're going to put Nick's information in the story. Link to it's betsforcongress.com. So
That's right.
It's real easy to remember. That's Nick Betts. He's the Democratic candidate for Congress here in the 6th District. So be sure you all vote on November 3rd. Appreciate it, Nick. Thanks again.
Thank you very much for having me here today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.